guys, it's your girl T. So last night was the premiere episode of VH1's Black Ink Crew Chicago. So a few people want to know my opinion on what I thought about the show, and I did watch it when it premiered. I was just laying down in bed watching it yesterday. And one thing I will say is that the show looks a lot less dusty. People on this show actually look more clean. And when I logged on to Twitter, it looked like a lot of people agreed with me. And folks were going in comparing Black Ink Crew New York versus Black Ink Crew Chicago. So I wanted to share with you guys some of these memes and comments and what folks had to say about the show last night. Check this out, and I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary. So you guys just saw all those funny comments and what people had to say. Now I will say this, even though Chicago gets a bad rap, most people in Chicago really do care about their looks, especially the guys. Most people from Chicago do be geared up. But I think for the most part, I do feel like the shop is cleaner. I feel like these people do look a lot better. For the most part, they all have teeth. But I just I felt like when I watched it, I got a Love and Hip Hop type vibe from it. And I felt like there was a lot of overacting. But one thing I will say that's a positive is these people's tattoo work looks to be on point. I cannot stand the tattoo work on Black Ink New York. Those people, I'm sorry, as funny as they are, as goofy as they are, none of them can really tattoo. I've never seen artwork that any of them, from Oh Shit to Caesar to Duchess, has done that's made me be like, oh my God, that's breathtaking. Now, I used to be a big fan of Miami Ink, and I was a big fan of LA Ink. And when I watched those shows, I always saw pieces that literally made me want to cry because they looked so realistic and they were so well done. I've never gotten that feeling watching the Black Ink Crew. I watch them more or less for all their drama, their ratchetness, and their lack of contraceptives. That's why I watch that show. But with the Black Ink Crew Chicago, I do feel like their artwork is on point. When the owner basically created that Japanese art from scratch on that dude's leg, I thought that was sick. I don't know all the names right now, so forgive me. I thought it was also sad. I think the owner's name is Ryan. His sister was murdered a few years ago. Some folks are saying that she might have been his blood sacrifice. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Ed Curry is currently on lay with his new wife. And while they were talking about how she took custody, how they took custody of his son because the baby's mother, who was the mistress, who is Ryan's sister, was dead. So a lot of people didn't even realize that while watching that, is that Ed Curry's on Basketball Wives LA with his new wife, and the mistress that she's talking about is Ryan's sister, Nova.
Seven children collectively, one of which is Noah, who's a product of Eddie's infidelity. It's taken a lot of time for me to completely forgive Eddie. And then Noah's mother was tragically murdered. I realized this is an innocent child who did nothing to deserve this situation. I took over the role of being his mom.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. So to me, I don't know. I don't know if they were picked because of that. I'm sure VH1 had to know the connection. Nothing is coincidence to me at all, especially when it comes to television. Nothing is coincidence to me. But it is sad that his sister was murdered by her attorney. This was like a really big story. I remember TV1 also did an episode on her murder, something called Fatal Vows or Fatal something. It was a show that TV1 was airing, and they talked about his sister's murder. So I'm glad that he was able to use a negative and use that to basically, you know, steer him in the right direction to open up this tattoo shop. But I didn't like the part where they grabbed the guy. I don't understand why everybody's jockeying the black and Korean girl. You know, I just felt like him talking to her was just so over the top. You know, you're supposed to be there to get a tattoo. He's trying to fill on her boobs. And, you know, he was just being just too over the top. And so when they all broke in there and grabbed him and slammed him, but yet instead they didn't show him, you know, falling on the ground. They just carried him out. I felt like that was very contrived. I felt like that was very staged. That wasn't believable to me. Another way that I feel like it's Love and Hip Hop all over again is the fact that the other light-skinned girl, I don't know none of their names, and all these chicks literally look alike to me. They all have the same features. They're all either biracial, light-skinned, racially ambiguous with long hair. I can't tell none of these chicks apart. I think the only one I can tell apart so far right now is Ryan's baby's mother. She doesn't want to be with him. She's more interested in pursuing her nail polish line. I'm like, okay, whatever. Oh, and grab your teacups for this one. It's also come out that the father of Ryan's baby's mother's other son is Jeremiah. The second child that she has that's not Ryan's ended up being fathered by Jeremiah. So she thought she had hit the meal ticket, and he ended up dumping her and moving on. So that's who that's who the child's father is of her second son. But the one girl who was in love with the other tattoo artist, the dude named Don, who has a baby's mother, I thought she was on some hood rat shit. When she took him to the bathroom and they ended up, you know, sleeping together, and then she thought because they hooked up that automatically made her boyfriend. You know, I thought that she was just doing way too much. She's just way too over the top. I feel like they are definitely trying to one-up the Black Ink Crew New York, you know, but I just feel like she was on some chicken head stuff. And then Don's baby's mother is just extra crazy, extra loud. So, I mean, it was definitely an interesting show. I just hope that it ends up being more about the tattoos and not the drama. That's where the Black Ink Crew New York really gets on my nerves, is that there's very little focus on tattooing. It's just all about the drama. So anyways, let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Did you end up watching Black Ink Crew Chicago yesterday? What did you guys think about the cast? And then what do you guys think about the Black Ink Crew Chicago versus the Black Ink Crew New York? And then how do you feel about the memes, the comments, and what folks had to say? So let's go ahead and get the discussion popping. Go ahead and leave a comment. All right, deuces. Hey you guys, it's your girl T. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share my videos. You can also visit Lovelyti.com to purchase any merchandise. Also, don't forget to click the boxes down below to watch any of my previous videos. Talk to y'all later. Deuces.